What's up, everybody? This is Tree from treeoflogic.com. And do you see who I have with me today? I have Styx. How you doing, Styx?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I am doing fabulous. It is so good to have you. Now, I've always wanted to have you on. It's just that I have to get some things out of the way. But guess what? I picked the favorite day and the favorite month to actually feature you, because we're doing this interview the day before Halloween, and I'm going to release it on Halloween. So I thought, like, this is a perfect person to do a one-on-one with. So, you know, isn't that a great thing? I picked the right time.
It's like an interview with Jack Skellington, I guess.
Hey, do you have any like Halloween decorations going on up in your home?
Yeah, right behind me, some pumpkins and stuff. But outside there's more, but I'm going to be smashing them all the day after for the 10th anniversary of my arrival on YouTube. So it's going to be a very special day, I think.
10th anniversary? Oh my God.
Yep.
So you've been on YouTube 10 Halloween. Years.
It's going to be so awesome.
So, okay, what made you start your YouTube channel in the first place?
Well, at first it was just entertainment. It was literally like, well, you know, YouTube is pretty cool. I had watched some videos. Why don't I start a channel and I'll put some random stuff? And I had a cheap webcam at the time, one of the really old low-end Logitechs with all the weird filters that they used to have. And it was like 360 only, really primitive. This was, you know, late 2007. And
yeah.
I just started making weird videos and listening to some black metal. And I put that on YouTube.
When you say weird, what do you mean by weird?
Well, they were totally random. Like, it was just me fiddling around with the effects, like the filters. And I would just slap them on there. There was like 30-second, 1-minute videos, and that was all I had there basically for a very long time. For a couple of months, all I had... The first video I uploaded to YouTube, I think I titled Ghost. And it was just sort of me waving my hand back and forth in front of the webcam and making like weird effects with the
Were you high?
That was the first video that I did, because back then it was novel, because I had never seen anything like that before.
Wow, really? Okay,
yeah.
So...
And the second video that I made was a Depeche Mode song, actually, with weird effects.
So so you started making some transitions from doing all of that to going into what area?
Mostly it was religious content, like spiritual stuff. Like, I talked about my opinions of spiritual topics, how I didn't like organized religion, because I was sort of transferring out of organized religion, like Christianity at the time. And that was, from there it was all philosophical. But originally, most of my content was anti-religious as opposed to political in nature.
Really?
Yeah, it was about spiritual things, not about who's going to win the election or whatever.
So what changed? What made, because that's why I subscribed last year. You were so confident that President Trump was going to win.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to be honest. I've been on the Trump train. I just didn't believe that he was going to win, because I thought that Hillary, well, not thought, she is so corrupt that she was going to actually win regardless, because how she just double crossed Bernie, just totally just walked all over him, her and the DNC actually. Mm-hmm. And because of that, and because the mainstream media was on her side, you were adamant. You was like, Trump's going to win. Trump's going to win. And everybody in the comments like, dude, I'm sorry. We all love Trump, but he's not going to win. And you wouldn't actually just wouldn't let up. You was like, you stood steadfast. And because of that, people were like, oh wow, you were so credible. And I think I held on to you because even though a part of me was like, nah, he ain't gonna win, it felt good to hear you say that he was, and then you became vindicated because you was right.
And you're ready for this, but I think he'll be reelected probably, unless something unforeseen happens in the next few years. What I looked at was I operated from the premise that generally political corruption occurs in the primaries. That is, that's where they rig things. If they can get a Republican and a Democrat who are controlled opposition, they don't fucking care who wins. It doesn't matter what happens in the general, because they're both the same thing. What I saw is that once Trump won the primaries, I looked at the polling methodology and I said, well, that seems out of whack. It seems like he's actually a few points ahead of where they're putting him. That gives him parts of the Rust Belt enough to win. I actually underestimated the number of electoral votes he would have. I didn't expect him to get Wisconsin. Yeah. And I said jury's out on Michigan. I expected Pennsylvania. And early on, I said he'll probably get Michigan. Then I was sort of half-assed on that one, admittedly, because I was like, he's got a good chance, but it's not certain.
Right.
But I saw him winning Florida. I saw him being at least competitive in New Hampshire. Now, the funny thing is, if the Democrats had nominated Sanders, he would have been like 20, 30 points ahead in New Hampshire. He probably would have done more poorly in the Rust Belt. Elsewhere, he probably would have done better. I think it would have been closer, but I still think Trump would have won. And it was clear that Sanders was never going to be taken seriously by the DNC, because if you looked at the funding he got, it was grassroots. The DNC is a corporate movement. They're a corporation. They want neoliberalism. They're not going to go for a grassroots candidate. It's very Trump had to spend hundreds of millions of dollars of his own money to override all these other people. It takes a very rich individual to do that.
Plus, he got a lot of free publicity because of just how much the mainstream media was so obsessed with him, you know?
It was wonderful to watch that. Oh, he was playing them like fiddles. I'm sitting there chuckling. Everyone else is saying his campaign's over after Billy Bush, or he said something unkind about Clinton, or deplorables. And I'm sitting there chuckling because I knew what was happening. It was obvious what he was doing. He's like, well, I don't need to spend a penny on ads. I can get free publicity anytime I want.
And he did.
He was the Weekly World News candidate. It was great.
Now, let me ask you something about your name. Why did you pick StyxHexen? Now, I gotta look down in my notes because I can never say it. StyxHexenHammer666. Yeah, 666. Yeah.
A lot of people call it Styx and Hammer or StyxHammer or something. So good. The Styx comes from the river Styx from Dante's Inferno.
Okay.
That is in the wrathful, I believe, fifth circle of hell. In the wrathful circle, Styx is a swampy sort of river thing, and all the wrathful, like angry people are there fighting over some dry rocks. So they're like fighting each other forever. And
okay.
I thought, well, this is fitting because I've always tossed myself into the fray of these arguments and fights.
Oh.
And these people too.
Okay.
Hexenhammer is the witch's hammer, or Malleus Maleficarum. Hexenhammer is the German term, but you can't fit Malleus Maleficarum in the old YouTube usernames because it's a 20-character limit. I would have used that otherwise. Hexenhammer is just the witch's hammer. Now, I use it to mean like the weapon employed by the occultist to destroy the Abrahamist, or to destroy the moral sycophant or something.
Okay.
The literal use is it's a book of witch hunting. It was how they hunted down witches, but I use that other double meaning to mean literally the weapon of witchcraft, or the weapon of Satan, really against other people.
Okay. Has that scared a lot of your subscribers? Like, oh my God, you're a devil worshiper.
No, people who have subscribed to me realize that I left even atheistic Satanism behind long ago. I practice the occult, and I'm interested in it mainly in a historical manner. And I'm a pagan, but I don't even believe in the devil. Absolutely not. There is no such being. Simply does not exist. It's a boogeyman employed by the church.
Yes.
In that sense, I'm more like a fedora-wearing atheist or something. But the thing is, that has overlap with the pagans, because the pagans never believed in such a thing either. I simply used it as a way to chase away people who were so small-minded that they would look at the username, they'd see 666... and witchy stuff and anti-religious content. They would never subscribe. They would leave me alone. Because I didn't want them to subscribe. I didn't want them to stick around. They would never understand the content. It's too eclectic for them.
Yeah. So paganism, did you participate in Wiccan circles where they dance naked underneath the full moon?
No, I've never been a Wiccan. I don't see Wicca as authentic paganism.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with Wicca, especially hedge Wicca. It's a positive thing. They're like, yeah, take care of the trees, play around with herbs and stuff. That I think that's positive. It's a good thing.
But you're not talking about the Wiccas, the Wiccans who were like going to cast a spell on Trump. What was they going to?
That was Lana Del Rey and some of the others. I'm not sure that they're actually Wiccans.
Oh, okay.
I like Lana Del Rey as like a musical artist. In all admission here, I like her music, but she's got no idea what she's talking about when it comes to the occult. She's got to study like the Ars Goetia or something and go be a demonist, because it would at least be semi-authentic. But Wicca has nothing to do with a political message. Anyone claiming that it does, oh, we're witches and we're going to burn this black candle to destroy Donald Trump.
They said they were going to put something to make him stop talking. I was like, good luck with that.
Yeah.
I forgot what
we're going to perform a binding ritual.
There we go, binding ritual.
That doesn't make sense. Some of these people, they don't even believe in like literal spirits. Well, then how are you going to bind someone supernaturally by burning a candle and saying a few invocations? That's so retarded. It doesn't make any sense.
It makes absolutely no sense. Now, speaking of your name, I have been trolled, and I'm sure you've seen him before, and he calls himself StyxHexenHammer 10.5-inch cock. Have you seen him?
No, but I've seen StyxHexenHitler and StyxHexenHammer 10.2.
Okay.
I think it's 10.2 you're thinking. There are like 5 or 6 parody accounts.
Yeah, it's so many. It's like, and they come into my live stream and just troll, and they troll. They trolled the live stream, and I'm watching them trolling, and people actually just get a kick out of them because of their name.
I like it when anyone does sort of an homage to me, whether it's like a video of me, a troll account, like a parody account. I love it. I fully support it because I find it hilarious. Because I used to think back to like a year or two ago when I had like 10,000 subscribers, and I'm like, well, these people are so lucky. They've got like accounts pretending to be them and people just parodying them constantly. Wow, it must be cool to get all that attention. And now I'm part of that group. I'm like, this is great. I actually love it. I thought it was some people think of it as I guess insulting. I think of it as a compliment.
You know what? I didn't think of it insulting or a compliment. I just thought about like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, and it's like some of them are like permanently active daily like accounts they use on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
It's like StyxHexenHitler like 1488 or something. Now I may not agree with the message, but I find it funny.
Oh, well, I guess I get the StyxHexenHammer 10.5-inch cock. I guess I'm the one get that one since, you get the one with the 1488. I guess, he's going to come to my stream because I'm a woman, I guess. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I get the one talking about Jews all the day.
You got to admire trolls, man. They are a little entertaining to a certain extent.
Well, the thing is, like, I trolled for years on ICQ, so I don't block anyone out for trolling.
Yeah.
Because I support trolling. I find it funny.
Yeah.
I don't care what they're saying. I don't even care if they harass people for the most part.
These guys are just, this one particular, he was hilarious. And it's like, he just steals the chat every time he comes up in there.
So great.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you something. Tell me about your flag in the background. And I also want to know what's that about. And then I want you to also go into your actual logo, your symbol, in reference to everything going on in it. I'm familiar with what I see, but I just want you to break it down for us.
Yeah. Now, the red flag behind me is just the flag of the Roman Republic. That's literally all it is, like the Senate and people of Rome, essentially. It's a celebration of the Democratic Republic. It's a celebration of Western civilization. I've had people proclaim that it's like a symbol that I'm a fascist. But the thing is, I'm not Italian in any way, shape, or form, so I don't know how that sticks.
Yeah.
As for the actual, and you probably see it here, the Ouroboros and the crescent moon.
Yeah.
That's a symbol I've been using since early 2008, I believe, is when I started. Before that, I used a variety of crescent moon logos. And the idea, the Ouroboros represents completion. It represents the year. It represents the completion of time, the cycling of time. It's essentially, I would say, a detail of my belief in reincarnation.
Okay.
The crescent moon itself is the rising of the new. It's the rising of the new moon in one of its phases. It's literally,
that's the one I recognized.
yeah, it's the dawn of a new cycle. So the Ouroboros is the cycle. The crescent is the dawn of that cycle. And it's just about renewal. It's about occult power. It's about the coming of a new age. Not like a Herbert Walker Bush new age of tyranny, but one of liberty, one of spiritual liberty, one of fighting, of the destruction of the old order, essentially. That's what my symbol represents. And you'll notice it has some overlap with Boyd Rice's symbol. Which is also, it's an Ouroboros with an unequal sign. But that's what he gives importance to. He gives importance to the idea of people being unequal. I give importance to the idea of simply a new age dawning.
Very good. Very interesting. Now let me ask you something. I've started to see you drinking out of your coffee mug with that symbol. So you now have merchandise that you're selling with your logo on it?
Yeah. Originally, I wasn't planning that. It was just supposed to be a one-off, but a lot of people wanted to buy a mug. So I'm like, well, I'm going to offer it on this site, and people can buy it.
Awesome.
And slightly different. It's slightly different. Mine has a different Ouroboros. This is more the clip art side. The new one has a logo. I paid to have the logo rendered in that form. I actually paid my artist to do so.
I will have for those of you who are watching, I will have a link to his merchant account where you can pay, where you can actually, if you want to buy that, I'll have that in the description box below. So you can actually have a lot of his links down there below to a lot of his social medias, because you're actually spreading all aboard. You're on Twitter, you're on Gab, you VidMe, you're on a lot of places, so you're diversifying as many places as possible.
I'm very diverse.
Now, here's something that has I had asked this in when I was live streaming with Blonde. No one could get us a good answer. How tall are you?
I'm 6'2" tall. And, most people, they wouldn't know unless they had seen it in the comments, but I've told people 5 or 6 different times what my height is. It's just that, unless someone watched that video and looked at the comments, they didn't see it.
Okay.
But I am 6'2", so I'm on the taller side, but not like, I'm not a human giraffe.
Well, yeah, I'm 6'3", so.
Oh, yeah.
So I can relate. Okay, now I gotta ask you this, because I'm into the extremes. I like you either bald or I like you either the long hair. Is it something about people who have these extremes on YouTube I really like? And I remember your hair, of course, there's so many things that's different about you. To be a political commentator, you don't fit the typical image, and that's great. That's what we like about you so much. But one day you let your hair grow all the way to your chest, and then the next day I came to your channel to look at your videos, and you had cut it right back up to your shoulders. I had like, why did you do that? Oh my God!
It was necessary, because when it gets too long, it gets just a little bit too annoying for me. Like, you're going to sleep, it's getting in your face. You're trying to make a video and it's like, it's down here. Like when I was talking to Paul Joseph Watson, I had a swatch of hair in front of one of my eyes. People were like, well, why did you do that? So it's like it wasn't cooperating that day. I couldn't keep it back. I'm not going to sit there and stick a bobby pin in my hair while I'm talking to Paul Joseph Watson, of all people. It's just not going to happen. It wasn't even on purpose. It gets just a little bit too on the unruly side, I think. Like, I like having long hair, but when it gets a little too long, it's like, well, it's all split ends, and, it's messed up. And I just wanted to trim it back, so.
Well, you don't want to get it professionally done?
No, I don't. I'd rather just put it in a ponytail and do one chop and you're done.
Is that how you cut your hair?
Yep.
You put your hair in a ponytail and oh my God.
Yeah, you brush it back and you put it into a ponytail and then you just sort of trim off any excess. And it doesn't look great in back, but, most people...
No shit, really? It doesn't look great in the back?
Well, you can always have
Styx!
it edged up a little bit, but you can't do that yourself.
Oh, well, that is one of the funniest things I've heard. Okay.
Yeah, I found it funny. And the thing is, like one time when I was in, as a funny story here that most people wouldn't know, this is why I was billiard bald before I was in Florida. When I was in UVM the first time around, I tried to cut my own hair and failed. And I didn't think of just putting it in a ponytail and doing a one chop. So I tried to edge it using a mirror. And it looked so horrible I had to just shave it bald. I was flat broke at the time, didn't have the money to go to anybody to have it cut.
Oh, no!
Yeah, that was many years ago, but it was so funny. Looking back at it now, it's like great.
Please don't ever go. Please. You don't. No, I think it would actually shock your subscribers, and you would have a huge unsubscribe, decrease because if you came in there and showed a bald, first of all, we would have asked you, "Hey, Styx, you okay? You in chemotherapy or something? What's going on?" You're like, "No, I just decided to have a new look." Unsubscribe.
Just put on a wig. Yeah.
Okay, now here's another question that people tend to ask in reference to you. Are you vegan? Because people keep thinking you're vegan or vegetarian.
No. The reason why people thought that is because I got a bunch of vegetarian MREs from a vegetarian subscriber who was in the military and sent me 4 of them. They were all tasty, by the way, especially the vegetarian lasagna was better than most meaty lasagnas I've had, but I am not a vegetarian. I had a bunch of General Tso's chicken last night. I had a beef stew this morning. It's just sometimes I do prefer having some vegetarian foods because the fact that they're vegetarian or even vegan means that in order to make them taste good commercially, they have to use seasoning. They have to use something other than meat fat in order to flavor it. So sometimes that food can actually be better. People should try it. If they haven't tried like a vegetarian lasagna or something, just give it a try. Sometimes it's really, really good.
It's really good.
They have to use something else for the protein, something else for the fat, something else for the savory. Yeah. So they pump it full of herbs. If it's vegetarian, maybe a lot of cheese. And cheese is tasty.
Yeah. So what got you into eating MREs?
I watched Steve MRE Info. I think he's funny. I watched him eat weird, grotesque stuff from like the Korean War, and I was like, that looks so horribly gnarly. I would love to see one of these in person. So I got a Vietnam MRE, and it didn't disappoint. Like the fruit was all like weird and black.
Oh!
The hot chocolate, honestly, was the best cup of hot chocolate I've ever eaten. The coffee was good too. I drank that all. Everything else was weird, including the pound cake in there smelled like a mushroom. It didn't smell like a cake.
Styx, why would you eat that?
I didn't eat the pound cake. I swear I didn't even nibble it, but it was so funny.
Oh, okay.
And to watch him try stuff that's like 30, 40 years old, and some of it's edible, it's like, well, what are you thinking, man? It's just like, yeah, it's so great. So I had to get one. I just had to get one of those MREs. It was great.
And you haven't been doing any of those videos lately. Is it because you ran out or what? What's going on with
it's just it takes more to set up to record it because I have to use the tripod that I've got, put the webcam on it and aim it at the table, and then I have to choose, am I going to aim it at myself? Am I going to aim it just at the food? It gets a little harder, and then I want to use the tray, but at the same time, I just want to tie into it. And I'm used to scarfing my food. I'm not used to supplying commentary when I'm eating.
Yeah. I don't envy you on that one either, because I'm like, when I want to eat, I want to eat. I'm hungry. I don't want to like, oh, this is very tasty. It tastes like, let me taste it again. It tastes like blah, 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 and everything like that. So I totally get it. All right. So my next question is, when you was talking about how the vegan lasagna or the vegetarian lasagna was so tasty because of herbs, I noticed that you know a lot about herbs. I've heard you mention certain herbs on your videos, especially pennyroyal. And so my thing is, how do you know so much about herbs and why?
Well, I literally wrote a book on the subject of herbal occultism called Fruits of Eden, called literally Fruits of Eden, Herbalism, and the Occult, but it goes back to when I was in high school during summers. When I was a kid, I didn't have home internet, so I went to the library and would get like guides on plants, fungi, and stuff like that. I'd go out in the woods and I'd sketch things and like try to figure out what I was looking at and memorize things, proper names, whatever it happened to be. And just walking around in the woods, like I got into gardening. My grandfather taught me how to grow things. And I went out there to gather bricks and rocks and stuff for gardening material and just to make things look pretty. And I grew things, and that was my summers in high school until I got to college. I didn't have home internet access. So unless I was at the library, I wasn't on the internet. I was reading a book out in the woods somewhere until I was about 18.
You was in the woods reading books.
Yep. Yeah, I lived a very rustic lifestyle until high school. A lot of people think that I've was a nerd all my life or something.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so my thing is, has anybody from your high school days, because you haven't really moved from your location that much, have they recognized you on YouTube?
Yes, but it's actually, that's not entirely correct. I've lived in Texas and Florida as well.
You came down here to the South. You say you don't like the heat. How did you come down here?
I don't like humid heat. I didn't like the Tampa heat. I did love the dry heat of southern Texas, though. I lived 5 minutes from the Mexican border for several months during the middle of summer. I thought it was great. I was eating tacos and drinking margaritas and going to the swimming pool. I thought it was awesome. But, yeah.
Okay, so you don't like humid heat. You can deal with the dry heat over there in Arizona, Texas, and
yeah,
and
that
such.
was easy.
Okay.
But yeah, several. I can't name names, obviously,
Right,
but several
right.
people from high school have recognized my work. Yeah,
And are they impressed with you, or like, yeah, I figured you would do something like this?
they seem to enjoy it. Yes,
Okay.
and I've had people come up to me randomly in real life saying that they recognize me. In fact, only a few days ago, when I was out to lunch, somebody did.
Now, you have stopped smoking, and how's that going for you so far?
I am now 17 or something days without smoking. So I mean, I'm over that hump. I'm not going to go back to smoking. It would be stupid to do so.
Yay!
Yeah, no, it's great. I don't want to get preachy about it though. Like I stopped updating day to day because some people were like, "Oh, well, you're a recent non-smoker, so now you're going to get like preachy about it." Trust me, I know what it's like to be a smoker and be told to quit, and I know what it's like to say, "Yeah, I would love to, but I can't." I'm not going to preach to anyone. It's not going to help them quit anyway.
What? How long have you been smoking?
I had been smoking for, 5 years or something. Like, I was never a human chimney, so maybe it was easier for me than someone who is. Like a 2-pack-a-day habit.
Yeah.
Like, I was more of a third a pack a day, like 6 or 7 cigarettes. But it was quite a while, yeah. So I was obviously addicted.
You're also very open about your past experiments with drugs. Is it because it gave you a what I remember one video you was talking about how it gave you another type of mental and emotional experience. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact video because I got 2,500.
Yeah, exactly.
I know the sentiment though. Yes, I support full legalization of all psychedelics at least decriminalization of the hard drugs to get people into treatment. I don't see the use of psilocybin, mescaline, LSD, things like that as a problem. I think they should be legal. If a person's not driving or walking around potentially doing something harmful or jumping off a bridge, I don't care what they use.
Yeah.
I think they should be able to have an unlimited supply of it. I wouldn't even just decriminalize it. I'd legalize it because I've used these substances. They didn't mess me up. They didn't make me less intelligent. Hey, if they made me less intelligent, how the hell did I do what I was doing during the election? It's a myth that was spawned. They want to throw people in prison to use as basically slave labor.
Yeah.
I hate to sound far left on this. That's literally the case. There is no other purpose to it. No sane person who's ever encountered or knows anything about these substances actually thinks they're a societal ill. I don't think people should be encouraged to use them, but I don't think that it should be something that they get thrown in prison for. And I'm glad that I used things like LSD and mescaline so many years ago.
You know, when I heard about mescaline, the first time I heard about mescaline was from The Matrix. I never knew the drug exists. Is it because it's a certain type of is that associated to a certain type of culture, Styx?
Yes, I believe it's the Hopi who employ mescaline most readily, but they also employ some sort of little red bean called mescal. And I know that's extremely toxic and can kill you. I wouldn't recommend such a thing. Like Datura or some of these other substances, they're not exactly on the safe side. But the thing is, nobody would use them if you could just obtain mescaline and psilocybin. You legalize just those two, people probably wouldn't even want LSD anymore. They wouldn't need it. They would just scarf down mushrooms. I used psilocybin once. It was kind of it wasn't a terrible trip, but it wasn't great. I saw Charles Manson's head floating across my leg for what it's worth. I used mescaline a couple times. I thought it was among the most relaxing substances ever, and my favorite was Morning Glory. I used that a whole bunch of times, probably used it a couple dozen times all told. I never had a bad trip on Morning Glory. Salvia, which has now been made illegal. It was illegal when I used it. Was always a good thing for me. It'll last like 10, 15 minutes. And in order to keep the drug war going, they have to keep spinning these tall tales about somebody, and it's never true.
Well, the war on drugs doesn't work anyway, as we clearly can see.
Yeah, with salvia, they made this story. I remember reading it in the newspaper. They were like, oh, this kid took salvia and built an altar in his living room, started the barbecue grill altar he had built, and asphyxiated himself. It was a total lie. He killed himself in the garage. He wasn't even on salvia at the time. He just started the car and just sat there and asphyxiated himself on carbon monoxide. They found a bag of salvia in his room and assumed that he was high.
Okay, that's what happened. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's so dumb.
Now, why would people think that would affect your intelligence?
They just naturally assume it because they've been lied to and told that it does. If anything, some of these substances probably increase intelligence. Psilocybin, clinically, and this isn't from some, sort of weird third-party site, sort of like, I can't remember the name of it, that one conspiracy site that the people always cite on Facebook, like Nature Living or something. Real, actual scientific studies show it does indeed encourage connections within the neural networks of your brain that weren't there before. Now, some of this might be weird. It might make you think in a different way that's not quite positive as far as making money or something, but it will make you generally feel better about yourself. I speak from experience because I used psilocybin. One use, and you do feel different. Not different as in you become a different person and, you're going insane or something, but just you can think more ably about things. You can make connections where you couldn't before. Okay. It's like an increase of your IQ in mushroom form. It's actually amazing.
So, okay, now speaking of IQ and intelligence, and it's clear that you are of high intelligence. So are you going to have some white babies?
Yeah, maybe. That's a funny thing because a lot of people are like they're like white nationalists and they'll call me a cuck, but yet they have no children. Yeah. That was my suggestion. Okay, you see a problem, go have 5 or 6 kids.
Exactly.
Problem solved. Well, you're not getting outbred anymore. Jury's out, but I lean towards it'd be okay to have some. Kids.
It's this the white babies thing. Is something I ran with. Actually, it's something that used to piss me off. Because it was something that the white nationalists and the alt-right was actually saying to a female that I had on as a guest, and I took it and ran with it and just started making a joke, and now it just turned into a meme for myself about white babies. Like, okay, when are you gonna have some white babies? And I love to say that to white people all the time. Like, yeah, go ahead, some white babies. It's just a funny thing.
For a long time, I said, well, I didn't want kids, but the thing is, a lot of that was income related. Yeah. And as my books become more popular and people are donating to me on Patreon and Hatreon and stuff, it's like, well, it wouldn't be that difficult anymore, I suppose, to have several kids.
Yeah.
Compared to before, a big thing, and this ended one of my relationships in the past. Again, I won't get into the thick of it, but it did. Was someone wanting to have a kid, and I'm like, well, I don't have any money. What am I supposed to do? It's not going to work. I don't want to raise a kid in abject poverty.
Smart move.
On government assistance. I don't want them raised thinking the government has given them any handouts.
Yes.
Honestly,
yes.
I don't want that, honestly.
No, you did good. You did good. Okay, yeah. So now let's talk about politics, okay? So it looks like the whole Russia was really the DNC and Clinton all the time. So do you think that all of this stuff where they were blaming, God, man, I'm so happy that Trump has been vindicated again. And I would like I saw your videos, I saw your take on it. You were happy. I was happy as well. I mean, I just am blown away. What do you think will eventually happen? Do you think that, and please take as long as you want, rant all you want, but I want to know, do you really think that Clinton is going to that Hillary is finally going to get some kind of punishment? Finally, we understand there's a lawsuit against the DNC right now. But I just want to know, is she finally going to get her upcomings? Please. I just want
Well, while it would be nice to think of Hillary Clinton at least being interrogated, I'd give a 99% chance she never faces any justice because of her standing. Because she can make life so difficult for other people. Like she's been a confidant, obviously, to at least higher level Dems. They would all lean on any investigator to back off, and they have collectively a lot of power. As for the DNC, though, the suit may go forward. It may cause them to get fined or something. But did you see earlier, it wasn't long ago, Manafort actually is the one getting subpoenaed.
I didn't know nothing about that. Please explain.
As I predicted, Paul Manafort is the one who got indicted by Mueller. I said Manafort was the most likely, Tony Podesta probably a number 2. It's Manafort, and then I think it was Rick Graves or something is number 2, who's just a lower level staffer. Doesn't matter. Nobody is going to remember his name tomorrow. That's not Donald Trump now, is it?
No, not at all.
Had all this time, all these months to come forward and say, yeah, Trump colluded with the Russians. He's an evil person. Instead, it's Manafort, a campaign manager that gets off board fairly early and is replaced anyway. That was working with the Russians. Why do you think Trump replaced him?
Right.
Maybe he knew all along. Maybe that's why he shoved him to the side. People couldn't even figure it out at the time. They said he's the chaos candidate. I thought it was so funny because, once again, people just need to use a little bit of common sense. They'll know fully what's going on in the political world. Trump never colluded with the Russians. It never happened. Mueller,
and for them to really think that we was going to buy the whole Pissgate situation was just unbelievable.
Pissgate was the funniest of all, but the thing is, all the Democrats keep thinking that Trump is going to get nailed to the wall by Mueller. It's never going to happen. Trump didn't collude with them. Manafort choosing to do dirty business with the Russians fits right in with exactly what he's doing with the Turks, too, for which he got actually investigated by the FBI. And by the way, the FBI already cleared him of his Russian connections. The fact that he gets indicted doesn't necessarily mean he ever goes to prison or gets fined.
Right.
It just means they're proceeding on the evidence that they see. But the FBI already let him go. What do you expect to happen to him? Probably nothing. So, I mean, again, people didn't listen. I had people, including Trump fans, say, well, Mueller's probably going to he's probably going to indict Trump. And I said, no. And they said, well, you're wrong, Styx. This time the deep state's really going to get him. You've predicted this 4 or 5 times in a friggin' row. And I keep telling these people it's never going to happen. They just don't believe me. They just don't know when to back down and realize that other people know what's going on in the country. Mueller's probably one of them. He's investigating the Podestas.
Do you think they're losing faith because they actually listen to more of the lefties over there, the media commentaries, the mainstream medias, as well as lefty YouTuber political commentators who are like, yeah, Trump's going to get indicted, Trump's going to be in trouble, and this, that, and the other. Do you think they're actually allowing that to actually influence their mind?
Yeah, well, part of it is the legacy media. You've got to understand primarily, if you look at all of the main sort of mainstream networks. They have ties to at least a handful of people who are, governors, senators, whatever they happen to be, within their states, within a region, people they've done a lot of interviews with, a McCain, a Podesta, somebody like that. Of course, they're all against Trump. None of these people like him because they feel threatened by him. The Republicans don't like him because I think the Republican Party is split between Republicans who think Trump is the Antichrist because he's not religious, and Republicans who think that he's going to cause the Republicans to lose the next 5-6 elections. Yeah. And the Democrats don't like him because he's a Republican and because of his campaign strategy. Some of them know better. Pelosi's, oddly enough, probably one of the more sane Democrats when it comes to the Trump issue. She's not calling him for him to be impeached. She's just saying, well, he's hard to work with, and I'll shake his hand.
She's a little crazy anyway, though.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she's showing herself to be capable of some level of diplomacy between the parties. But the thing is, so many people have seen nothing but negative coverage of Trump. But why would you trust these people? Right. These are the people that did all the polls that were totally wrong during the election. They told you Trump had a 1% chance of winning tops. Why are you leaving them over independent commentators who told you month after month what was happening and were right almost invariably? I was right. Scott Adams was right. Molyneux, for the most part, was right. We were correct. All these other people were wrong. Why are you trusting them to tell you what his approval is?
Right.
Or what he's up to, or what Mueller's going to do? They're totally wrong. They don't know what's going on in the country.
So can you explain something to me that I'm a little confused? How much was the uranium? That Clinton
Uranium One.
Yeah, the Uranium One. Excuse me. Yeah, that's right. Uranium One purchased. How much of that was purchased?
I don't know, but it was a substantial percentage of all the U.S. uranium.
Unbelievable.
A substantial percentage of all our uranium production is now in Russian hands because of a deal signed off on by Trump. I mean by Obama after an FBI investigation which involved potential dirty payments to the Clinton Foundation. Now, a lot of people want to say, well, that's not evidence of wrongdoing. Then why is the House investigating it? If there's no reason to suggest that there's any possible wrongdoing, if the legacy media is true and nothing untoward happened, why is the House investigating them? It wouldn't make any sense. They're not dumb. Some of these people have some credibility left. Not many of them, but some of them do.
Unbelievable. Do you think Obama is going to catch any kind of heat as well?
No. No, Obama gets off scot-free for anything he did. Nobody would ever dare to imprison Obama. He could have committed outright treason. They wouldn't do anything. They wouldn't even start an investigation.
Because they don't want to seem racist.
Exactly. It's more than that, though. It's more than the racial issue, though. He was seen as a figure of hope and change in the most literal sense to a generation that saw Bush, realized Bush is crazy. They voted for Obama. They saw him as a messiah. Even though they were let down, they just don't want to let it go.
Oh, my God. What hope and
a lot of these people will persist in thinking, well, the left is great. The left is wonderful. Even when the left becomes the old right of George W. Bush, which they already largely have.
Yeah.
A lot of these people will never back down because they've got so much cognitive dissonance. They were raised up thinking Bush equals war and corporations and surveillance and evil stuff. Therefore, Democrats equal the opposite. They equal good stuff. Well, I mean, that's obviously totally a lie. They're never going to admit to it, though.
Oh, my goodness. You know what? Hope and changed my ass. He didn't give any hope, but he did make a lot of changes, but a lot of bad changes. So here's my next question. What do you think will become of his presidency after President DJ Trump's second term? I didn't say after the first term. I'm like his second term. Because I agree with you. He's going to win it.
It's still, until the midterms, it's still an assumption he gets a second term. I could be wrong. I'm
going to go ahead and go out there with you. I'm going to say yeah.
He could also have a heart attack or something and die.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
We got to keep that. I mean, if it was Hillary,
he loved to eat.
Yeah, we got to keep that in mind. So it's still speculative.
Yeah.
Obama will be remembered by his fans, by the millennial fans, as being a good president. Most other people in time, I think, will remember him as much more flawed on the basis of things like the NSA, the attempt to strike Syria, which was shot down by the House, hand in hand with what the UK House of Commons blocking the attempt there by David Cameron. That was at the same time, it was a bellwether for what was going to happen here, and it was great. It was just like, it was better than sex watching the result in the House of Commons when even members of his own party shot him down. It was the most wonderful thing I've ever seen, because, I mean, it probably saved thousands, tens of thousands of Syrians' lives. Obama will be remembered by his critics for a lot of bad things, but let's give credit where credit's due, and criticism where criticism's due, and not be partisan. Obama did a good job with the Cuba deal. He did an okay job, and I know I'm in the minority on this among his critics. I think he did an okay job on the Iranian deal. I don't think the Iranians are seeking nuclear weapons, because if I know you probably disagree. North Korea had the same nuclear aptitude, and it took them 2-3 years to develop prototypes. Iran, 20 years later, still apparently doesn't even have a prototype. I'm sorry, I just don't believe that they're seeking.
Okay.
And if they were, they wouldn't be a danger to us, maybe to the region, but I don't really care. I don't honestly care if the Iranians launch an atomic war on Iraq or something. The Iraqis will respond in kind, and they'll do what they've been doing for many years, which they'll have another regional war. Yeah. It just means higher casualties for a while.
Yeah.
But Obama did a few things that were okay. Most of what he did, though, was ineffectual. The NSA thing, he claimed the day after Snowden comes out, well, I only saw this like on the news. Bullshit. You're the president of the United States. You got fully briefed on this program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm one of his harsh critics. Don't like Obama. Totally thought he was just all talk. I mean, but especially what he has done in America and between race relations here too.
That's a problem, yeah.
I'm just like, oh my God, this guy is.
Yeah. Even late in his second term, you'll remember. I think it was in his 7th year. They asked him why his approval was pretty low, and he's like, well, I think a lot of the white people that voted for me were secretly racist.
Here we go with that political, that racism card.
They're racist, but they voted for a black president. What are you talking about, dude? They can't possibly be part of your original approval. They can't possibly have been people who approved of you, because supposedly they're racist. It doesn't work that way. And it was a total cop-out. And now people want to talk about Trump's low approval. Hell, Obama's was getting down towards that level, even if we go by the fixed polls, which they probably are, and use that aggregate that's 3-4 points lower. Obama wasn't that far from it. I think his lowest was 36, if I remember correctly. That's pretty low.
Yeah. Yeah, but they still think, according to the left, they believe that his approval rating when he left out of office, out of his second term, was at 65.
Oh, shit.
Leave it to them. That's what they keep telling each other. They actually, Styx, they even actually said, and I said, you a lie. I said, I'm going to fact check you. They said, Obama is the only president who left from the Oval Office with the highest presidential rating.
Bullshit. And JFK's approval was really high before he got H.W. Bush.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. Those polls that showed Obama with high approval, they used the same flawed methodology as the polls that showed Trump 10 points down from total. Yeah. So take 10 points off that, you get roughly his real approval.
Right.
It's somewhere in the low 50s. Well, that's decent. That's good. A lot of it, though, is people who don't want to sound racist. They say, yeah, I approve of Obama. What has he done? I don't know. ACA or something. They don't know anything about it. What do approval polls, by the way, even matter half the time? A lot of these people don't know anything about politics. They don't even know what the president's doing.
Exactly.
And he's one politician. They don't know anything about the House or the Senate.
Right. Not a damn. Don't even know what the House and Senate's purpose is. That's the thing.
I've had people before, when I talked about Congress, claim that the House of Representatives wasn't even part of Congress. I've had people have a statement. I'm like, I don't know what kind of fucking courses you took in high school. You're no one to lecture me on this topic. They're like, oh. Well, why are you talking about congressional approval? Talking about the House of Representatives. What? The Senate's not in Congress. What? What's the judicial branch? I don't know. How many justices are there? 20.
Oh my God!
It was terrible. Who's the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court? Oh, Judge Judy. Judge Joe Brown. Okay, these people participate in polling, so whatever.
Oh God! Oh, please stop! You're cracking me up. You're cracking me up. Okay, so let me ask you some predictions here. Okay. What do you predict for Trump in the near future? We already got your predictions in reference to if his health stays well, because we have to. I agree. You know, Trump, it kind of go a little overboard with the plate eating and everything, and he has to lose weight. He'll gain it right back. So hopefully his health is well. I agree with you when you said they give the president special drugs that nobody else can have. So hopefully he'll make it. But with all that being said, what do you see in the forthcoming future in reference to the midterm elections as well as President Trump's?
Assuming nothing catastrophic happens with Trump or any other meaningful Republican leadership, like Mitch McConnell keels over or Rand Paul suffers a car accident, those would affect things. The polls showing the Democrats 15 points up in the midterms are bullshit. It's probably closer to 5 points up, and that's not really meaningful because a lot of these races that are up are in places that are generally red, and it's just the Democrat happens to be there. But we've got a hyper-partisan climate. I would expect the Republicans retain the Senate and House. I don't think that the Democrats take the House back. The Republicans may gain a couple Senate seats. At that point, the Democratic Party will be under so much social stress that it'll probably overthrow the neoliberals, and you'll see a business Democrat, which, by the way, might be worth voting for. We got to keep that in mind because Trump's basically a business Democrat, too. It could be that. It could be a progressive, which wouldn't be as worth voting for, unless it was someone like Sanders is okay on guns. Beyond that, he's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
I say someone from Sanders' own state. We got to keep that in mind, though. Until after the midterms, though, we can't say anything about 2020. I'm seeing people make predictions. Trump will lose. Trump will win. This will be the person running against Trump. Bullshit, you don't have any ideas. The person you're guessing will run against him could be dead in 3 years. So
Right.
Predicting now. Wait till the midterms are over. But I think Trump will do well. I happen to concur with, I think it's Sosnick said that Trump was in a good position for 2020. If things remain the same and the midterms don't go catastrophically against Republicans, he probably wins the second term. At that point, the Democrats have a total meltdown.
And if he get that wall up,
yeah, that would be good. He has to do one of three big things in order to ensure that he has a good chance. He has to get the wall, or he has to get mass deportation, or he has to get tax reform. If he doesn't get any of those, the only thing feeding his campaign would be, hey, the economy is good. And that's assuming that the economy remains good. He can say, well, 3% growth. Look, we created jobs. We created wealth and stuff. That's not going to matter to your core fans, though, Mr. Trump. You're going to have to give them something.
Right.
Some of them, like myself, mainly cared about tax reform. I don't care about the wall so much because I'm optimistic it gets built anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's attainable for him. But on top of that, I also want fiscal reform because what's the point of saving ourselves from the immigration debate if we don't have like a decent job growth? If we keep exporting jobs, it's not really going to benefit us much because our economy keeps sliding backwards. We need to do both. If he gets the tax reform, though, I'd vote for him. If he doesn't get anything meaningful done, I won't vote for Trump again.
What's the deal with the tax reform? What's going on with that?
His proposed tax reform would give somebody in my bracket considerable relief. We're talking $3,000-4,000 a year. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Especially when I live in a high tax state that wants to take $3,000-4,000 a year from me. For a lot of people on the margins of the middle class, it would be a godsend if Trump's tax reform passes. But the Democrats are utilizing the media to do whatever they can to convince people this will be destructive to the middle class. You won't get any reform. It's trickle-down voodoo economics. The thing is, trickle-down wasn't even something Reagan talked about. It was never a term he used. It was a term his opponents used. It's sort of like cultural Marxism is not a term used by cultural Marxists. I remember the Wikipedia debate over this and how hypocritical it was that they didn't want to do the same to the trickle-down entry. I think he can get tax reform, though. He's got the House on board. He just has to get a couple senators on board. Bribe them. Give them something they want. Who cares what it is? Get your reform in there.
You don't see that. You don't see that actually, especially with what has surfaced now, where now the Democrats look really, really bad. For them to block this, you don't see them actually giving in to this. To this tax
their
reform?
fans, no. Their fans are so hyper-partisan that in their mind, the Democrats can do no wrong. The Democrats can never make a mistake. They are so brainwashed and fooled. It's honestly, I'm not just going to aim this at the Democrats. To anyone out there seeing this, there are Republicans that operate.
Oh, I know now, honey. I know. Yes, Lord.
They're Jesus Christ's own chosen elect, not like those godless heathen Democrats over there. What are you talking about? Judge them based on their ideology. There are Democrats out there who think that the candidates they like because they have a D after their name.
Yeah,
they could do anything under the sun. They could sit there and poop in the middle of the street and start smearing it on the Lincoln Memorial. They would still support them. That's how bad it's become in this country. So no, I don't think it affects them at all. But Trump can lean on them in other ways. He can bribe them. He should give them the carrot. If they don't take the carrot, give them the fucking stick and whack them out of existence.
Yeah, yeah. And what do you think needs to be done about McCain? Do you think he'll just...
Nothing, because he'll die soon anyway. He's
so evil, it doesn't seem like that's going to even happen anytime soon.
No. Well, he's so bitter. He's so filled with hate. Like, at some point, you know, the devil that doesn't exist would take him back to hell. I don't know. McCain... He won't run again. He's too old for that, even if he were.
Thank God.
Yeah, he'll be out. But the thing is, the Republicans don't have the balls to tell him no. Because all he has to do is say, hey, I was a prisoner of war once, and they just do whatever he says. It's astonishing to watch how much power this one goofball has.
Why? He's a freaking joke. Why does he have that much power?
It's because he's in a relationship with Lindsey Graham, I guess. I don't know. They hang out a lot, and Graham's not married. You know, maybe they do. Maybe they have a bromance.
Maybe, honey.
But John McCain's a warmonger, and people, the Republican partisans, that they'll say, well, he was a prisoner of war. Well, he's also a warmonger. He wants your kids to be prisoners of war too. Yeah. Do you want to support somebody like that?
Right.
I choose not to.
Right. I totally agree. and what do you think going on with Schumer?
What's he up to lately? The last I knew, he was angry at Trump for rescinding the preliminary immigration and saying, hey, you want more of what I want.
Because remember, before him and Pelosi was like, we're talking with Trump and he's going to go ahead and give us DACA and we don't have to give him nothing in return. And Trump was like, psych.
The thing is, they know full well that if 120 days elapses, DACA's dead permanently, Trump starts deporting people. Yeah. They're going to have to give him at least some of what he wants. What he wants, according to his own statement, is the wall funding. He's not going to get, I think it was 3 points. I think it was wall funding, increased border security, and deportation of certain groups. He can't get all three and get them back on board, but he can probably get two, and he can certainly get one. Wall funding is the most important, probably deportation after that. If he can get two out of them, he wins. Because all they're getting back is most of DACA. And I told this to Molyneux when I was talking to him. And I was right. He stabbed Schumer and Pelosi in the back, just like I suggested he would. Mm-hmm. What I said is, he's putting this forth. He knows he's rescinded DACA. All they can do is get back what was already there. He can get whatever he wants in return. But he's got to play his cards right. And he's not going to get 100%. His fans need to understand this. Trump was never intending to get 100% of all the big asks that he put forward. He wants to get maybe 25, 50% of them. And that's a victory for him because he gets more than he had to begin with. His opponents get literally nothing.
Is it possible, and we're about to wrap up real soon now,
Okay.
is it possible that once if he wins his second term and he has nothing to lose, this is when he's going to be more balls to the wall? Do you see that coming? Because right now he has to do the compromise. He has to play nice, but I believe that when he gets in his second term, to where he can actually just go ahead and be like the Trump businessman, but kind of like take that down, dial that down just a little bit and put that as a president. You know what I'm saying? To where I see two different Trumps, because I've always been a fan of Donald Trump before he even thought about running for president, because I've gotten his books. I've actually paid to see his seminars. I love the way he think as a businessman. And so I don't see too much of his business philosophy being applied to him as a president. He's too friendly, not friendly, that was the wrong word. He's too compromising, that's the word. And I'm thinking maybe he's doing this because once he gets in his second term, then a little bit of ruthlessness with the Democrats will start coming. He's just too nice to them. What do you think about that?
It would be fairly historically normal if he turned around in his second term and changed his behavior. Some Obama did this, Bush did this, basically all the recent presidents have. Oddly enough, though, I think he might go in the other direction and be more accommodating.
Really? Why do you think that?
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Trump is an ego man. Every major politician has an ego. Some of them are destructive, some are constructive. I've written about this, I've spoken about this. Clinton's like the destructive side. Hey, I'm going to start a war. I'm going to bomb people, show my dominance. Trump is the, hey, I'm going to build a building bigger than yours. I'm going to gild it with more gold than yours. I'm going to put my brand on more shit than yours, and everyone's going to know who I am. For someone who's like that, I think he wants to be friendly with these people ultimately, but he needs to bring them to bear first. He needs to get them to bow before him, then he can be their best friend. Because what he wants to do, I think, is take it a step psychologically further and actually convert all these people to his way of thinking, or at least to his way of living. So he's going to spend several years browbeating all of D.C. Right now, I wouldn't be surprised if there is some D.C. involvement in what's going on in Hollywood. Kevin Spacey, Weinstein, all these others. I wouldn't be slightly surprised if that was the case. He's trying to get them to crack and force them to obey him. Once that comes around, though, he can give them Stockholm Syndrome. Once he manages to do that, they'll be his friends. They'll be his allies for real. And I think that's what he wants, because he wants to do right by the American people. Now, you don't have to believe that what his vision of right is objectively right, but at least his heart is in the right place. As somebody pointed out, in closing, I'll say this. Somebody pointed out something interesting yesterday. They said, it's funny how all these people who play nice guys in Hollywood are the perverts, the weirdos, the losers, the ridiculously rapacious, abusive people. Haven't you ever thought about aiming that in reverse and saying, hey, the people who are pretending to be assholes like Donald Trump are actually nice? That they have their heart in the right place? Right? That's what he's doing. It's all a projection. It's projecting the big man thing.
Okay.
The other people in D.C. know what he's doing, but they can't say it openly. They can't say, yeah, this is just Trump being Trump, because it makes him sound like they're exonerating him, and a lot of their own fans won't let him do that. Meanwhile, Trump's own fans are sitting there laughing.
Very interesting. Very interesting perspective. I actually have to concede. I was like, okay, I have to agree. You just switched my position there, Styx. There you go. I see your point of view. I see that better than the way I see it. I have to agree. I can't, you're right. He is about ego, and it's like,
Yeah. I don't think it's enough for him to force people to like him. I think he wants to force them to think that they organically want to like him after time by giving him Stockholm Syndrome. Literally manipulating him on the most grand level. So
perfect. I take back everything I said. I see your point of view. I totally see it. There you go. See, that's why I'm subscribed to you. See? All right, listen, we're going to close it up here. I want to personally thank you so much for joining me today in this interview. It's been a blast, especially when you had me laughing earlier.
That was a lot of fun. And thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just like, wow, this is really, really great. So listen, everybody, for those of you who are watching right now, I'm going to have, of course, all of the links in the description box to Styx social media accounts. Also, your blog. Are you still active on your blog or no?
Depends on which blog. On the Tarl Warwick Books blog, that is where I do all my literary updates. Yes.
Okay.
And I'm on both Blogspot and WordPress with that.
Well, I'll get right after we finish this interview, I'll just basically just just have you just send me all of the links that you want me to put in the description box, and I'll definitely do that because on here they'll have your immediate your Minds and your Twitter. So we're going to have that going on the screen, and then in the description box I'll have all of your links to all your social media accounts and your blogs. I only just thought you had one blog, but looks like you have more than one. So that's good to know. So I like to check out the other ones as well. And so those of you can check him out. If you haven't subscribed, the first link I'm going to have in the description box is the link to his YouTube channel. Please subscribe. You will not regret it if you have not subscribed to Styx already. I'm telling you, it's really great. It's good to hear his perspective. And you also, those of you who live in Vermont, you do a special video dedicated to Vermont news. Is that right?
Yep, Vermont issues.
The Vermont issues.
One video a day, except when I'm like sick or there's a power outage like there was earlier.
Okay. All right, great. All right, then. So without further ado, I want to thank you so much for joining me, Styx. And we'll see you all next time on One-on-One with Tree. Later, taters!